First. I just did it for now.
It's true. It's a very unique nighttime spectacular, which really is our largest spectacular in Disney's California Adventure, and we're really excited to bring that lagoon to life. So I'd say it's a pretty unique show using technology that in a combination of ways that really will take your imagination to extraordinary places. So we're excited.
You know, it's all about water. And when we started the little journey, it was like when we started doing fireworks shows differently, it's like, oh, what can we do with pyrotechnics and how can we use them as storytellers? That's what we did with water. We started to look at water and we started to play with it, going, yeah, everyone does this, everyone does that, but how can it be a character? How can it kind of grow out of this kind of, you know, beautiful droplet of water, and you start adding color and texture and light to it, and with Disney music and imagery, how can you just blend it in a whole different way and make kind of this world of color that just kind of explodes in front of your eyes. I mean, it's interesting that when you start to just look at water techniques, you're like, oh, why don't we try this? And you start to learn new things and new techniques, and you're like, wow, that's really cool. I mean, one of the coolest things we're doing in the show is we have 2 colored fountains. And people will go, wow, how do they do that? And we just played around and said, oh, it's going to be fun. I think it's so big. The show is monstrous. It's bigger than a football field. It is a canvas of water that magically comes up and just keeps transforming and changing and taking you places, you know, either from the symphonic score or from the tapestry of water. I think it's going to be a great wow. I really do. I think that it's because of its scale. The scale of it, people have no idea how big it really is.
And it's very close to you, too. I think, you know, you're as close to the water as a third row here. Yeah, so it's right there.
You're about 12 feet away. If you're in the front row, you're about 12 feet away from a 30-foot fountain, which is very cool.
Michael Reagan, KSL Radio. We kind of heard that the World of Colors will be about basically making the Bellagio show look like a lawn sprinkler show compared to what you guys are doing with the scope and size.
That's not an official statement.
No, I've never made that statement.
No, I think
they're two different worlds. Honestly, I think the Vegas show is beautiful. I really do. I think it's revolutionary and beautiful, and we just went a whole different route and looked at the colorization of it. I mean, no one's ever done a color fountain this big and as sophisticated as this is. It's one of those things that I always say only Disney's crazy enough to try this. The amount of information universes in this show is staggering. I mean, it's enormous. And just to get all those networks, just to get the giant football field out of the water is a feat of engineering. I think from the engineering to just what we're going to ask this thing to do is going to be beautiful, and all the technical people will just go, wow, I think, when they see what it really is.
And we're really going to explore. I mean, we've done everything to date with, you know, CGI and video, and sort of in our mind, in Steven's mind, how he wants it to work. Now, when we actually fill the lagoon and start really putting the show together, we're going to learn so much about what this can do, because now it's real. So I think a lot of what you saw right now with Steven's presentation will come to life, and some of it we'll throw out because it isn't the right thing, it doesn't feel right, and other things will be explored. So we're very excited.
But I think that, you know, to wrap around into your original question, I think the biggest difference is story. I think that's going to be the #1 definer of the show, is that the worlds that will take you to that Disney has. I mean, that's one thing that Disney has that nobody else has, is we have fantastic, you know, decades of animation that we can now strip away and do new things with, and you know, taking you into these color places. I think it's just going to be very unique. I think you're going to look at it very differently.
Yes.
Sarah, Tim Hughes, Metal Plaza 2000.
Hey! Hi, good to see you.
Good to see you. Tell us about the music.
The music. Mark Hammond out of Tennessee is actually doing the score. He's a composer, along with his partner Dave Hamilton, who's doing all the orchestrations. We're using a lot of some original music. We're using a lot of Disney, as Stephen just mentioned, and a huge canon of Disney music. We're recording this in London. It's going to be an incredible, it's over 100-piece orchestra. It has everything. It has things that, it has a very simple things, and it has a very grand feel. So I think you're going to get a lot of variety in this music. It's gorgeous.
It's built as a movie soundtrack. There's parts of the show that have no soundtrack. Just a little teaser for you. There's just things that happen throughout it. It's built like a movie. The whole thing is built like a movie. We worked very closely with John Lasseter on this. He's been a great partner on this creatively. He really pushes you a lot, which I love, because it's just kind of like, hey, he's like a kid in a sandbox, and it's really fun to kind of get into those worlds and explore them in a lot of different ways. And the music was the same way. If you go through all the revs, I have a music background, and I talk music with composers. And you all have to go to the next thing, because I'm going to the composer session after. It's going to be fantastic. Now back to your question. But I think but what I think is going to be wonderful about the soundtrack is that it is, as Sayre said, it is massive at times. I mean, it is the biggest finale of every Disney movie you've ever heard. But at times it's just very simple guitar and just air, and you're going to see things kind of come out of it. I think
so did the music come first and the water and choreography came after, or?
Both. It all kind of works. My brain works on many weird levels. So we started with a bunch of storyboards, and the storyboards kind of built the mission. And then you'll sit down with Mark and Dave and go, hey, how about this? And then they run off, and they'll start to compose something, and they'll inspire you. They'll go, hey, we have this crazy idea, and something will come out of nowhere, and then it'll totally trigger a new thought. So that collaboration, I think, is really important, because it just keeps growing and enhancing. And the same with our water programmers. Jason Badger's doing a lot of our water programming for us, and he'll just take music, and I'll say, hey, play around with this, and he'll just come up with some amazing looks. And you just kind of go, wow, that's really, really fun. It's a partnership deal with everybody. Everyone's so invested in the show.
Yes.